Hi, I'm Susan Kennedy of Pretty Peaceful, and today I'm going to show you how to make the sugar rainbow blanket. The sugar rainbow blanket has two sizes, a small size and a large size. The small size requires 1 cake of mandala yarn, which is a DK weight yarn, 590 yards or 540 meters per 150 grams. It's an acrylic yarn, and a 5mm hook. H hook. The other size is a large size blanket that requires 2 cakes of mandala yarn, and for that one here I have the colorway Valkyrie and the colorway Elf. So your colorways don't have to match when you put 2 cakes together to make the large size. I think it's nice if they have one color in common, like these both have kind of this light aqua turquoise seafoam kind of color. And I think even these two together would look great because they both have this light yellow to kind of tie them together. So the blankets are both made the same way. We start with here's one I partially made a while ago. First time I tried to film this tutorial in 2020. And you see how far I made it before I had phone problems. But we start with a long chain. Both sizes start with a long chain. And then we double crochet into one side of the chain and double crochet around into the other side of the chain. So we're working into the starting chain from 2 directions. And then we go back and forth in rows. So to get started, we are going to zoom in a little bit. And for the small size blanket, we will chain 71 stitches. If you're making the large blanket, you will chain 111 stitches. And after I show you the main blankets, I will show you these fun little optional popsicle sticks you can add on. There's a small one and a large one, depending on if you're making the small blanket or the large blanket, to turn your blanket into a popsicle, little ice pop treat. Also, if you haven't seen the introduction video for these blankets, you can go back and watch that. I filmed it a couple years ago. And you can see kind of the small size and the large size where I'm holding it up. So you can kind of get a sense of how big each one is, how big of a blanket you can get with just 1 cake of mandala yarn. So we're just going to start chaining. You make a slip knot, put your slip knot in your hook, and chain 71 for the small blanket or 111 for the large blanket. I like to chain nice and easy, keep it kind of loose. I move my thumb up after each few chains. That kind of helps keep them even, I think. Oops. So the blankets start this way. Also, those popsicle sticks start this way with chaining. Unfortunately, you can't use the foundation double crochet for this, which I normally do. But because you're working into both of them, it just doesn't work out. So we're going to chain. The rest of the blanket after this starting chain is all double crochet stitches. So just keep chaining until you get to 71 for the small or 111 for the large size blanket. Okay, so I have chained 71. And I forgot to mention the colorway that I'm working with here for this small blanket is called Sprite. It's kind of one of the older colors. I hope it hasn't been discontinued because it's a really good one. Okay, so let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit closer here. Now we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook and all the chains down until we get to the last one. Maybe that's zoomed in too much. Okay, so we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double crochet stitch. Okay, there's our first 2 stitches because these skipped chains count as a double crochet stitch. Now we're going to double crochet into the next chain. And I know when you're working into chains, take your time. Some people like to crochet into the back bump, but for this blanket, we're just going to grab kind of this top loop because eventually we're going to end up chaining into the other side, the bottom loop here. So continue to work 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way to the end. So you can find the free written pattern PDF for the Sugar Rainbow Blanket on Ravelry.com. I have a bunch of free patterns on Ravelry. I really love making free crochet patterns. I also have a few paid patterns, some of the more complicated ones that take me more time to make just to keep my yarn basket full. But go check out my free patterns on Ravelry. I also have a few other free YouTube video patterns for mandala yarn. I really love Lion Brand Mandala. It's one of my favorites. I just love the colors and how they blend together. I feel like that was Mandala really paved the way for that. And to me, it's really affordable to get a blanket quantity of yarn. Unfortunately, now the only place that I have to buy it is Walmart in my town, Durango, Colorado, because our beloved yarn shop closed. But it's a great yarn to work with if you haven't. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're probably already a devotee like me. So we'll keep going until we get to that very last chain. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Just double crocheting 1 stitch into each chain. And when we get to the last chain, we're going to create the kind of top of the rainbow, the arch. So here's our last chain. We're going to work 6 double crochets into this last chain. 1, 2, 3, and now we're kind of turning our work here. 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now we have a long row of double crochets here, and we've crocheted around so that now if we keep crocheting, we're going to be crocheting into the other end of our starting chains. And we're going to work 1 double crochet into each chain. I'm going to crochet over my end, my yarn tail from when we started, and kind of catch that while I catch the chain here and crochet around it. I'll save the last few inches to weave in, but I like to kind of get a head start on weaving in the tails by crocheting over it for a few inches here. So 1 double crochet into each chain. We're kind of grabbing the other half of that chain stitch, and we still have the back loop of the chain stitch in there somewhere. Of the three kind of parts of the chain stitch. So 1 stitch into each stitch all the way down to the end. And I'll kind of let go of my tail and just crochet into the chain and not carry that tail anymore, so I can weave the last little bit back in the opposite direction to kind of lock it down. One of the great things about this pattern is you only have the start and the end. You can let the colors flow. You don't have to cut the cakes. It's just continuous crocheting through a whole cake, which I love. Some of the other patterns I've designed for just 1 cake that use the whole cake without stopping. One One of the ones I wear all the time is called the Laid Back Lace Wrap. I made one in the Griffin colorway. It's one cake. It's all single crochet with a really big hook. You can find the free pattern for that on Ravelry. Maybe someday I'll make a video for that one. It's really light and lacy. It's kind of the biggest piece of fabric I could make with just one cake of mandala. And I like a pretty generous wrap because I hate it when a little wrap falls off. So it's a rectangle. It's really fun. You do have to block it to really open up the lace. But it's really pretty. It's like see-through. And to me, it's got a nice drape to it. It really sticks on my shoulders when I wrap it around. You can also tie it like a scarf, which is great. So there's that pattern. I also have one called the Enlightenment Cowl. That's also single crochet with a big hook, but it's in the round. That makes a fun, really fast cowl with a giant hook. And then I have a couple patterns that maybe use 2 cakes of mandala. There's a free blanket pattern called 2 Mandala Tango. That's just 2 all double crochet, kind of similar to this sugar rainbow pattern, but it's double crochet in rows, kind of let the color flow. And I ended up adding 2 more cakes onto the 2 Mandala Tango blanket I made, and that's a whole new pattern called 4 Mandala Fun. So that pattern shows you how to make a symmetrical blanket, even if all your cakes don't exactly look identical. And the last video I made, the Let It Fly blanket for mandala, that has a little tutorial on how to make 1 cut per cake to make a symmetrical blanket. So watch that one if you haven't. That was really fun. I used 4 cakes of gnome for mine. So we're working all the way down to the end. This is row 1 of the blanket. Working 1 double crochet stitch into each chain. I mentioned in the introduction video, I was really surprised how much my kids enjoyed this blanket. I made a small and a large, and they were really running around playing with them like capes, which, anytime my kids play with my crochet, it's wonderful. So it's fun to use kind of the brighter colors for this, but you could also use any color, really. It could be a very sophisticated blanket depending on the colorway you choose. You can make earthy colors like centaur or griffin, or just the super bright ones like gnome or rainbow falls. So we're coming to the end, last couple chains here. And we're going to crochet into the bottom of this last stitch. It's really when we double crocheted in the 4th chain from the hook to start this row, it's kind of the first of those 4th chains. And this is the reason why I like to do double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, just to give a little extra space here. Because if you just double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook, this part of the blanket ends up feeling a little tight. Okay, so that's row 1. We've got the very beginning of our little rainbow here, the arch part, and then this is going to be the flat end of the blanket. So we're going to turn our work and start row 2. So every row starts with a chain 3 or a chainless starting double crochet. So you can either just chain 1, 2, 3, and then don't double crochet into that same stitch. This can just count as your first stitch here. Instead, double crochet into this stitch. So your starting chain 3 counts as 1 stitch, and then now we've got the 2nd stitch here. I prefer to do a chainless starting double crochet because I feel like it makes the edges a little bit straighter than a chain. I learned this from Tamara Kelly of mooglyblog.com. Thank you, Tamara. You pull up a loop that's about the same height as a double crochet stitch. Put your finger on top of the loop of yarn to hold it against your hook. Wrap the yarn around the hook. Insert the hook into that very first stitch. yarn over, pull through that stitch, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops, one of which is kind of doubled. Yarn over, pull through 2 more loops. And that is a chainless starting double crochet, or chainless standing double crochet. Never quite sure which. And that counts as your first stitch, and it lines up better to make a really straight edge. Then we are going to double crochet into the next 68 stitches for the small size, kind of basically all along the straight edge, or into the next 108 stitches for the large size. So the chain 3 or the starting double crochet counts as a stitch. Then we'll do 68 more here since I'm doing the small. Okay, so I've crocheted 67, and I'm going to work my 68th stitch into kind of the row 1 where we've increased here. We have 6 stitches that formed that, 6 double crochets that form that arch. So my 68th stitch is going to be in the first one of those. Now we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next 4 stitches, working kind of around this arch area. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the same stitch, kind of a basic crochet increase. Now we'll work 2 double crochets into this stitch, and 2 double crochets into these next 2 stitches. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches where we have 2 double crochets in each stitch. And this is setting the basic pattern for our increases. As we go up and out, we'll have 8 increases per row. So next we're just gonna double crochet all the way. We're kind of turning our work here, so get our little yarn tail out of the way. And we're just gonna double crochet into each stitch, back along to our flat edge here. So this will be 69 stitches for the small blanket, or double crochet into the next 109 stitches for the large size. So we'll just double crochet back around to end round 2. Double crochet all the way back to that flat end. This is kind of the basis of all the rows. We're going to kind of double crochet along the one edge, work the little arch, and then double crochet back out to the edge where we started. Eventually, as the arch gets bigger, it's going to have a little flat spot, and we kind of increase on one side of the blanket, have a little flat spot, and then increase on the other side of the blanket. It's always symmetrical. And some rows we don't increase at all. We just work 1 double crochet into each stitch. Then I'll walk you through it. So keep going, double crocheting into those 69 or 109 stitches all the way back out until you get to the flat edge of the blanket. The kind of short end over here. Okay, coming to the end of row 2. And when we crochet our last stitch, it's going to be worked into this little chain here, so it's kind of hard to see. Don't miss that last one. And you can count to be sure that you have the right number of stitches here. You can count from your last increase, where we have those 4 stitches where we have 2 double crochets in each stitch. Let's just make sure we have the right number of stitches along the side. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 69, yes. So make sure you don't miss that last one. That last little chain, it's a little smaller than the others. And now we're going to turn our work, and we'll start row 3. I like to start with the chainless starting double crochet. I'll show you that one more time here. You pull up a loop that's about the same height as a double crochet stitch. Put your finger on top of the loop, and we're going to dip the tip of the hook down and up again. So we're wrapping the yarn around the hook. Insert the hook into the first stitch, the very first stitch. Yarn over, pull through the stitch. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. There's our chainless starting double crochet. Now for row 3, we are going to start the same way we started row 2. We're going to double crochet into the next 68 stitches here for the small blanket, or 108 stitches for the large blanket. Working 1 double crochet stitch into each stitch. Okay, I've worked my 68 double crochet stitches for the start of row 3. So if you're counting from the very edge, you'd have 69, including that first stitch. So you chainless starting double crochet or chain 3, then you work 68 stitches. And now we're kind of at the arch shape here, and we're going to make some increases to maintain this kind of half circle. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. That's 2 double crochet stitches worked in the same stitch. 1 double crochet into the next stitch. 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So we've increased twice, kind of on this half of the rainbow arch. We've increased twice so far. Now we're going to double crochet into the next 2 stitches, just 1 stitch each. 1 double crochet stitch, and 1 double crochet stitch in the next stitch. Now we're going to kind of do the 2 increases for this half of the blanket. So those 2 stitches we just made, those are the very beginnings of the flat top of our rainbow. So work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So the blanket's symmetrical. We've increased twice over here with 1 stitch in between, and we've increased twice over here with 1 stitch in between. We have the kind of beginnings of this flat spot at the top. Now we are going to do the same thing as row 2. We are going to double crochet 1 stitch into each of these stitches, all the way back out to the flat edge again. So for the small blanket, you'll double crochet into the next 69 stitches here. And for the large blanket, you'll double crochet into the next 109 stitches. So 1 stitch in each stitch, all the way back out to the flat edge. Coming up to the end of round 3 here. And I'm crocheting into the chain 3 or the chainless starting double crochet that started this round. So it's a little easier to see than that last one. So you can see we have the beginnings of a flat edge here of our blanket. So that was row 3. We've got a very skinny little sugar rainbow here. We're going to turn our work and start row 4. And row 4 starts just like every other row. All the rows start the same. You're going to chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet and work double crochet 1 stitch into each stitch for the next 68 stitches for the small blanket, or 108 stitches for the large blanket. So that takes you all the way to kind of the last of the regular double crochets along the side. Your first increase gets worked into the first time you see an increase from the previous row. So you can crochet in each stitch evenly till you get to that last one. And then when we start working into the increase from the previous row, that's where it kind of changes. So let's start with our chainless starting double crochet here, or chain 3, and that counts as your stitch, first stitch here, and 1 double crochet into the next 68 stitches for the small, or 108 stitches for the large. The small blanket has 23 rows and they all start exactly the same, with the equivalent of 69 stitches along this kind of long edge of the blanket here, counting that first chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet. And the large blanket has the equivalent of 109 stitches on each side. And then we get to that little arch dome part where we have our increases. So keep going until you've worked 68 more stitches after that starting chain, and you work all the way up into till you get to that first increase that you can see from the previous row. Okay, I've crocheted 68 double crochets plus my starting chain 3 or starting chainless double crochet. So now I've reached the point where we make our arch. So for row 4, the way we'll increase is we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and that is kind of where the increases from the row below start here. 2 double crochets into this first stitch, and then double crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to do that same thing 2 more times. 2 double crochets into one stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Okay, and one more time, work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next. Okay, so we've done that, let's see, 3 times. Here's 2 double crochet into one stitch, double crochet into the next, 2 double crochet into one stitch, double crochet into the next, and a third time, 2 double crochets into one stitch, double crochet into the next. Now, we're going to kind of reverse that to make this symmetrical blanket. We're going to work 1 double crochet into the next stitch. We're kind of maintaining that flat top of 2 double crochets right here. And then 2 double crochets into the stitch after that. So 1 stitch into the next one, 2 double crochets into the one after that. And then we're going to work this little section 2 more times. So 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 2 double crochets into the next, and the same thing again, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 2 double crochets into the next. So we've worked kind of 3 increases per side on our little rainbow arch here. And now we're going to finish row 4 just like all the other rows. We're going to double crochet in each stitch till we get to the end. So that'll be 69 double crochets for the small size, or 109 double crochets for the large size. So if you're the kind of crocheter that likes to go with the flow, and you could probably figure out the rest of the blanket from here. The sides are the same, and you just increase evenly to make this like a nice round arch. So everybody's tension differs. Some people crochet more loosely, some people crochet more tightly. I'm kind of on the more tight tension end of the spectrum. So you feel free to go with the flow and just keep crocheting straight edges and kind of trying to keep this part looking like a half circle. Increases will always start in the end at the same place, and the sides always stay the same length, either 69 or 109 stitches, depending on if you're working the small size or the large size. So I'm going to keep double crocheting into each stitch until I get all the way back down to the flat edge of the blanket again here to end round 4. And coming to the end of row 4 here, working a double crochet into that last stitch, which is kind of hard to see sometimes. And I'm also coming up to my color transition. Gonna be at the green here in a minute. So now we'll turn our work and start row 5. Just like all the other rows, we're gonna chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet and double crochet into each stitch for the next 68 stitches for the small or 108 stitches for the large size. I'm going to double crochet into each stitch until we see that first increase from the previous row. And there's our color change. I made it to the green. That's always fun with this mandala yarn. And, you know, if you're really picky about it, you could cut out these stitches and start the green down here, but I don't like to weave in the ends, so I'm going to let mine flow here. And, you know, it looks like an obvious transition now, but, you know, once you finish the whole blanket and take a step back, it really does blend well together. So let it flow, go with the flow. And keep crocheting along this row for 69 or 109 stitches, including that starting chain. Okay, I have my 69 stitches along the start of row 5 here. And now we're to the part where we are going to increase, and we can tell because it's right where the 2 double crochets into 1 stitch start in the previous row. So similar to the last row, we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So this little sequence we're going to repeat 2 more times. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next, and again 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next. Okay, so we've done our increases around this side. Now we're coming to the flat top. We are going to double crochet into the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we're going to do our increases on this next side, so we kind of turn our work here a little bit, and we will work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, double crochet into the next, and we're going to do that again. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next, and then we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and now we're done with our increases on the top here. So it's symmetrical. Here's where our first increase on this side was, and here's where our last increase is on this side over here. So we're going to finish row 5 just like all the other rows. 1 double crochet into each stitch along the next 69 stitches for the small blanket, or 109 stitches for the large blanket. 1 stitch into each stitch, all the way back out to that flat edge of the blanket. Just finishing up row 5 here. 1 stitch into each stitch till the very end. Okay, now we get in the hang of it here. let's turn our work and start row 6. We'll chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet, and then double crochet into the next 68 stitches for the small or 108 stitches for the large size. So double crochet up until that increase from the previous row, and that's when you know it's time to start increasing again at our arched end. Okay, I have my first 69 stitches, or 109 stitches of row 6. And now we're to the increase from the previous row, so we know it's time to start increasing again. So we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to repeat that little sequence series 4 times total, so 3 more times. 2 double crochet into the next, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 into the next, 1 more time, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next. So we should have that 4 times over. That's 1, 2, 3. We need to do it 1 more time. Let me just double check here. Here's our first increase. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 4 times. Okay, so you're going to work that 2 double crochet into 1, 1 double crochet into the next, 4 repeats of that. And then now we're over to the flat part here. We're going to double crochet into the next 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next. And we're going to do this little bit 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next, and kind of turn our work here and put the rest of it up on the table. 1 more time, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next, and then finally 2 double crochet into the next stitch. So again, we have a symmetrical arch here. Here's our first increase and our last increase. They're kind of matching. And now you may notice the pattern change. We increased 4 times per side. And this is the kind of pattern we're going to keep for the rest of the blanket. We're going to increase 4 stitches on one side of the rainbow, 4 stitches on the other side of the rainbow, and we have this kind of flat part in between. Then for the rest of row 6, just like all the other rows, we're going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch till we get to the flat edge again. So that's 69 more double crochets for the small, or 109 more double crochets for the large size. 1 stitch in each stitch all the way back out to the flat end to finish up row 6. So I'm finishing my last few stitches of row 6 here, and I wanted to show you just how these color changes do blend once you crochet over the next row, kind of that transition between the yellow and green. It looks a lot smoother once you have another row of green over it. So go with the flow. So here's the last stitch of row 6. That would be the last of the 69 stitches since our last increase over here. So now we'll turn our work, and you can see what a nice sharp edge those chainless staining double crochets give. If you've gotten to this point and you're getting some bumps along this edge here, you don't have to rip it all out. Just maybe try one of these chainless starting double crochets and see how those work out for you. They do take a little bit of practice. So to start row 7, I'll show you one more time. You're pulling up a loop, putting your finger on top of the loop, dipping the yarn around, the tip of the hook around, so you're wrapping the yarn around the hook. Insert the hook into that very first stitch. Grab the yarn and pull it through. Grab the yarn, pull through 2 loops on the hook. Grab the yarn, pull it through the last 2 loops on the hook. I just really love the look of this method. I use it all the time. I don't chain anymore unless I need to, like for the first beginning chain for this blanket. So row 7, just like all the other rows, we are going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch for the next 69 stitches for the small size, or the next 109 stitches for the large size, all the way till this stitch here. It's the last one right before we get to the first increase from the previous row. So row 7, just like the others, crochet all along this kind of straight side of the blanket, and then we'll come to our increases for the domed part of the blanket. Okay, for row 7, I have my first 69 stitches, including that first little one, or 109 for the large. Now we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet each into the next 2. 2 double crochet into the same stitch, and then 1 each into the next 2 stitches. So that's kind of our little increase pattern for row 7. We're going to work this 3 more times for 4 times total. 2 double crochet into the same stitch, and 1 each into the next 2 stitches. 2 double crochet into the next, 1 each into the next 2. And the last time, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet each into the next 2. So let's check and make sure I did that 4 times. Here's our first increase. So 1, let's see, where is our first increase? Here's our first increase back here. So we did that 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay. Now we're to the flat part at the top of the arch here, and we are going to double crochet into the next 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now we're going to start our increases for this side of the blanket. So that's the point where I kind of like to turn it. Now we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 stitch each into the next 2. So same kind of little segment we're going to repeat here, and we're going to do it 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 each into the next 2 stitches. And one more time, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 each into the next 2. Now we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Okay, so now we're done with our symmetrical dome here. And we're going to finish the row just like we finished all the others. 1 double crochet into the next stitch, each stitch all the way down to the end. So 69 more double crochets for the small, or 109 more double crochets for the large. Coming to the end of row 7 here. So we're looking good, and we're going to turn our work to start row 8. It starts just like all the other rows. We are going to chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet, and then double crochet into the next 68 stitches for the small, or 108 stitches for the large blanket. Okay, continuing row 8, I've got my 69 stitches here, including the first one, or 109 for the large blanket, and it's time to start our increases around the round end. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet each into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's our little increase section that we're going to repeat 3 more times for a total of 4 times. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 3. 1, 2, 3. So that was the second time overall. Let's repeat that for a third time. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 each into the next 3, and for the fourth and final time, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet each into the next 3. Okay, so we should have a total of 4 increases. 1, 2, I always got to go further back than I think to count these. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to be kind of pay attention here. And then we're going to work double crochet into the next 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then double crochet 1 stitch each into the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then the same thing again, 2 double crochet in the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 3. 1, 2, 3. And again, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet each into the next 3. Okay, and then finally we're going to put 1 more increase, and you'll notice that this increase, or 2 double crochets into the same stitch, is going into the last stitch of the increase we can see from the previous round. Okay, and there's our kind of dome section for row 8. And now we'll keep going on this row just like before. 69 more double crochets till we get back to this end, or 109 if you're making the large size. Into the last few stitches of row 8 here. And then we'll turn our work and start row 9. And this starts just like all the other ones with a chain 3 or a chainless starting double crochet, and then double crochet 1 stitch into each of the next 68 stitches for the small or 108 stitches for the large. And then we'll start our circular half circle part. Okay, to start row 9, I've worked my 69 double crochet stitches here, including the first starting chain 3 or chainless staying double crochet, or 109 for the large size. Now we're going to start our increases. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, which is the first increase we can see from the previous round. Okay, 2 double crochet into the same stitch. Now we're going to work 1 stitch each into the next 4 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's our little increase sequence. So we're going to repeat 3 more times for 4 times total. So 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches each. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was our second time through. Let's work the third time through. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, last time through, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then double crochet into the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now we're to kind of the flat part on top of our arch. We're going to double crochet into the next 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now we're going to work our increases over here. I'm going to turn my work a little bit. We're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet each into the next 4 stitches, just like we did on this side. So 2 double crochet stitches in the same stitch, and then 1 stitch each in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to do that little section 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, one more time. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we have to work 1 more increase, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and that's going to be worked into the last increase from the previous row. Okay, and that's it for our domed part for row 9. Now to finish row 9, we will double crochet into each stitch till we get back to the flat end. 69 stitches for the small, or 109 stitches for the large. Coming to the end of row 9, double crocheting back out to this flat edge here. 1 double crochet per stitch, and catch that last one. Now we're going to turn our work to start row 10, and row 10 starts just like the other ones, either a chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet, and then work 1 double crochet stitch into each of the next 68 stitches for the small or 108 stitches for the large. Okay, I've worked my first 69 stitches of row 10. I had a fun little color change there. That's always exciting. So now we'll start the increases. The first one's going to be worked into that first increase from the row below. And you can kind of see the pattern here. Before we had like only 1 stitch in between the increases, then we had 2 stitches in between the increases, then we had 3 stitches in between the increases. For row 9, we had 4 stitches in between the increases here. And now we're going to keep on going on with that pattern. We're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And we're going to repeat that 4 times. So 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 stitch each into the next 5 stitches, and 5. So we're going to repeat this little stretch here 3 more times. Work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then 2 more repeats of that same sequence. 2 double crochets into the next, 1 into each of the next 5. And 1 more time, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 5. And just like we were increasing the number of stitches between the increases along the sides here, we're also increasing 1 stitch along the flat part. So for round 8 we did 11 stitches, for round 9 we did 12 stitches here. Now we're going to work 13 double crochet stitches along this flat part of our top of our rainbow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now we'll start the increases on the kind of left side here, symmetrical with the right side. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 5. So there's our increase, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we're going to repeat that little sequence 2 more times. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 5. Okay, and 1 more time, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 5. Okay, and we're going to put our last increase of row 10, into the last increase from the previous row. So 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And then now we're back to the straight edge again. So we finished our top of the arch for row 10. And we are going to work 1 double crochet stitch into the next 69 stitches, all the way back to the flat edge, or 109 stitches for the large size. Going along the straightaway here. Coming to the end of my row 10, crocheting back out to the flat edge here. And then we'll turn our work and get ready for row 11. And row 11 and row 12 follow the same kind of pattern. We are going to turn our work and start with a chain 3 or a chainless starting double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet into the next 68 stitches for the small blanket, or 108 stitches for the large blanket. And when we get down to the curve here, we're going to put our first increase right where the first increase from the previous row that we can see is here, and then we're going to add 1 stitch in between each increase and 1 stitch here on the flat top. So that row 11 and row 12 are kind of predictable, and after that we're going to change it up a little bit. For rows 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, and 23, we are just going to double crochet in each stitch around without increasing, because I can see a little bit of a wave happening here. As our blankets get bigger, they have a tendency to get wavy. So if your blanket is getting really wavy, like, you know, this, I wouldn't consider this really wavy, a couple little waves popping up, this evens out. But if your blanket's starting to get really wavy, one way to counteract that is to just do a round of plain 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around, even on the curved arch part. And that can flatten things out. So at any point, if your blanket's getting wavy, work the round like usual in the beginning here along the straightaway, and then just keep crocheting one stitch per stitch all around. Don't work any of those increases where we're working 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Okay, for row 11, I've worked my first 69 stitches, including that first one, and I'm ready to start increasing here. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next 6 stitches. So here's our first increase going into the first increase from the previous row, 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Now we'll work 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so there's our little sequence, and we're going to repeat that 3 more times. So here's the second time through. We'll work 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 2 more times through. 2 double crochets into the next stitch. 1 double crochet into each of the next 6. Okay, last time through, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet stitch each into the next 6 stitches. Okay, now we're to our flat part of the the rainbow arch here. And we're going to double crochet into the next 14 stitches. Okay, that's 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So now we're going to work some increases on this side of the blanket. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And then 1 stitch each into the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so there's our little sequence. Let's repeat that 2 more times. 2 double crochets into the next stitch. 1 double crochet into each of the next 6. Okay, and 1 more time. 2 double crochet into the next. And 1 double crochet into each of the next 6. Okay, and now we're come to our last little increase from the previous row, and we're going to put 1 more increase here, so 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Okay, and there's our domed part for round 11 here. Now we'll finish row 11. I keep calling them rounds. They're kind of like half rounds, but I guess really they're rows. But we're going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch till we get back out to the flat edge here. So 69 double crochets for the small, or 109 double crochets for the large. Working the last few double crochets of round 11 here. And we'll turn our work and start round 12. Round 12 is very much like round 11. I'm just going to add 8 more stitches by adding 1 in between each increase there. So we're going to start row 12 with a chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet, and then work 1 double crochet into each of the next 68 stitches for the small, or 108 stitches for the large, until we get to that first increase from the row below. That's how you know when to stop double crocheting and get ready for your increases. Okay, I've worked my 69 stitches for row 12, including that starting one. And now we're ready to start our increases. So we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. And we're going to do that 4 times. So there's 2 double crochet into the same stitch, and then 7 double crochet. Okay, that's 7. So here's our sequence we're going to repeat. Let's do that again. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then double crochet into the next 7. Okay, so that was 2 repeats. Let's do it again. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet each into the next 7. Okay, one more time, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 7. All right, so there's our increases on this kind of first half, and now we're to the flat spot. We are going to double crochet into the next 15 stitches. There's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So you can check to see if you counted right, if that first increase is going to go into the second stitch of that first increase from the row below. So now we're going to double crochet, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 7, just like on the first side. Okay, there's our 2 double crochet into 1 stitch. Now 7 double crochet, okay, and let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, that's correct. So that's what we're going to repeat again 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 stitch each into the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll work that sequence again. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 7, and then the last little increase for the curve of row 12 here, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. And you'll know if you've counted correctly if that is ending in the last increase stitch here. 2 double crochet. Okay, and this row 12 will end just like all the other rows. We're going to double crochet 1 stitch into each stitch, back out to the straight edge, 69 double crochet for the small, or 109 double crochet stitches for the large size. Okay, so I've just finished row 12, all my double crochets along that straight row. So now I'm going to take a second, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We're over halfway done with our blankets. So let's just take a second to rejoice, see where we are, and how big our blanket is. And we have a little pattern change coming up. You can see I'm about halfway done with my cake of Sprite here. And that was 12 rows. You can count them, you just start in the middle and you can count each way out. I am starting to get a little kind of curling happening here, and you may be too, a little ruffling happening. It's not lying super flat. So from this point out, we've finished 12 rows. There are 22 or 23 rows total in the small sugar rainbow blanket, depending on how much you can get out of your cake. If you run out after 22 rows, that's fine. If you have tight tension and you still have yarn left, you can go for a 23rd row. So the pattern change is this: all the odd rows from now on, every other row is all double crochet 1 stitch all around without doing any increases on these corners. And that'll help keep our blanket flat as we grow out. So row 13, row 15, row 17, row 19, row 21, and if you have enough yarn, row 23 are just all double crochet 1 stitch in each stitch around. The even rows from now on, row 14, 16, 18, and 20, and 22, we're going to follow that same pattern that we've been doing on our increases. Every time we're going to double crochet along this edge until we get to the first increase. Sometimes it takes a minute to find it. Here's my first increase here. And we're going to work our first increase into that stitch. And every row we're going to add 1 more stitch in between each increase. So for row 14, we'll have 8 stitches between each increase. For row 16, we'll have 9 stitches between each increase. For row 18, we'll have 10 stitches between each increase. For row 20, we'll have 11 stitches between each increase. And row 22, we're going to have 12 stitches between each increase. So you're going to keep going, no surprises. Nothing major is going to change here besides the fact that every other row we're going to just crochet evenly all around to help keep it flat. And at this point, depending on your personal tension, you may need to just freestyle a little bit more to keep your blanket flat. If you're getting a lot of ruffling, maybe do 2 rows in a row of just straight all double crochet without the increases, because the increases are kind of where the ruffles happen. So it helps to smooth them out if you just straight crochet around them. Also on this flat spot is going to get 1 more stitch every round. So for row 14, we'll have 16 stitches here. Then for row 16, we'll have 17 stitches here. All the way up till row 22, we're going to have 20 stitches along the flat spot here. So I'm going to start row 13, just double crochet all around the blanket. So for the small size, you should have 218 stitches total. And for the large size, you should have 297 stitches total. If yours is off, don't sweat it. You don't have to pull your work back out. As long as you're happy with how it looks, just keep rolling with that number. Go with the flow. So I'm going to crochet evenly around, and I will meet you back here to talk about row 14. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 13, where I just double crocheted in each stitch around, and getting ready to start row 14. So let's take a look at the blanket now that we've done 1 row of just plain double crochet. Still looks a little bit wavy, but you know, I could stand to do 1 more row of just double crochet to kind of get rid of some of this waviness if you want it to be perfectly flat, but I'm going to keep working the pattern as written, and hopefully it'll smooth out here. So to start row 14, we're going to start the same way as all the other rows. We're going to work our starting chain 3 or chainless standing double crochet, chainless starting double crochet stitch, and then 68 more double crochets for 69 stitches total. And we're going to work our first increase into the, it's a little bit harder to find now because we've worked 1 row over it, but our increase is still going to end up being worked in the first increase of the previous row. You kind of just follow that up, and that's where our first increase is going to go for row 14. So I'm just going to double crochet once in each stitch till I get there. 69 stitches including this first one, or 109 stitches for the large. Okay, for row 14, I've got my 69 stitches here from the flat edge to the first curve. So if you don't want to count every time, look back at row 12 for that increase and kind of follow that stitch up. That's where our first increase is going to go again. We're going to work 2 double crochets into this next stitch. and then 1 double crochet stitch in the next 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you can see we're lining up still with the previous increases from row 12. We're going to work this little sequence of double crochet into 1, double crochet into the next 8. I make 2 double crochet into the first one, double crochet into the next 8. We're going to do that 3 more times. 2 double crochet into the next, double crochet into the next 8. Okay, so that was our second time through. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet stitch each into the next 8. Okay, that was our third time through. We're going to do it one more time. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 8. Ooh, a color change. Don't you love that? That's great. Okay, let's see, now I lost count. I was so excited about the purple. We have there 2 double crochets, 2, 4, 6, 1 more stitch. Okay, so now we've come to the flat part of our rainbow arch, and we are going to double crochet into the next 16 stitches. Okay, there's 15 and 16. So now we're going another increase here, lining up with the increase from row 12. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next 8. So there's our 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and then 1 stitch each into the next 8. Okay, now let's do that 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 8, okay, and 1 more time, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and 1 stitch each into the next 8. And 8. Okay, now we're going to work our final increase of this round. 2 double crochet into the next stitch. And now we've completed the domed part of round 14. Looks great with that color change there. Now to finish row 14, we're just going to work one stitch into each stitch all the way down to our straight edge again. So 69 double crochets for the small, or 109 double crochets for the large. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 14 here, and I realize I said something incorrect earlier about what your stitch count should be after row 13. So sorry about that. After row 13 for the small, you should have 218 stitches. I think I said 217 before. And for the large size, you should have 298 stitches. So I apologize. Hopefully no one pulled out their work and was like, why do I have this extra stitch? So I'm coming to the end of row 14 here. And row 15, like I said, like all the other odd rows from here on out, we're just going to double crochet all around evenly without increasing. Just one stitch in each stitch. So we'll start row 15. I'm going to do my chainless starting double crochet. You could do a chain 3 if you want. And one double crochet each into the next 68 stitches for the small size, or 108 stitches for the large size. Oh, actually, we're just going to keep going all the way around. Sorry. I got in the habit. But row 15, we're just crocheting all the way around. So at the end of the round, you should have 226 stitches for the small, or 306 stitches for the large size. So I had an idea just while I've been making this sample for the video here that I'm going to make a different variation to show you the large size. I want to go row by row and show how to do the increases for the large size, but I kind of want to just add on to this sample I'm making here, which has the small size starting chain of only 69 stitches across here instead of 109 for the large. So that's going to make kind of a shorter, fatter rainbow. So I'm interested to see how that'll work out. I have a cake of Valkyrie I could mix with this, or a cake of Elf. So we'll see which one I end up using. I think I might use the Valkyrie because I've never used that colorway on any of my projects. So we'll see. I'll show you how to do that variation once we're done with the small here. Right now we're on row 15 and we have about 22 or 23 rows depending on when the yarn runs out. This particular cake I'm working on, it looks kind of small. I might be able to only get 22 rows. We'll see. So I'm going to keep crocheting around for row 15 here, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Okay, I've just finished row 15, double crocheting all around. So you should have 226 stitches for the small, or 306 stitches for the large. And it is kind of flattening out here. I think these rows of just double crocheting all around, staying pretty flat. Now if you still have a lot of ruffling, you may want to just double crochet all around for row 16 as well and skip these increases. It's up to you. Your blanket doesn't have to be flat. Who says flat is the best anyway? Just offering some options because I know sometimes I get frustrated when my blanket's not laying flat. So for row 16, it's going to start just like all the other rows. We're going to chain 3 or chainless starting double crochet and work one double crochet stitch into the next 68 stitches for the small, or 108 stitches for the large, until we see that increase from the row below, and then we're going to start increasing again. Okay, I've got my first 69 stitches of row 16, 109 for the large. And now you see, even though we didn't have any increases in this row, you can still see the increase from the row below here. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And then 1 double crochet stitch each into the next 9. Okay. So there's our little sequence to repeat here. We're going to do that 3 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next 9. Okay, that's our second time through. Let's do that a third time. 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next 9. Okay, and again, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. And double crochet into the next 9. Okay, there's 9. Now we're to the flat part across the top here, top of our blanket. And we're going to double crochet into the next 17 stitches. Okay, and there's 17. You can be sure that you counted correctly because you see that increase from the previous row there. 2 rows below. So now we're going to make the blanket symmetrical, do these increases on this side. 2 double crochet into the next stitch. And 1 double crochet into the next 9 stitches. Okay, now that's the sequence we're going to repeat again 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next 9. Okay, and again, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. And double crochet into the next 9 stitches. Okay, now we're coming to our last increase for row 16. It's going to kind of line up with that last increase from row 14. 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Okay, now we just have to finish the rest of the row. We're going to work 1 double crochet stitch into each stitch till we get to the flat edge again. So 69 double crochet for the small, or 109 double crochet stitches for the large. Coming to my last few stitches of row 16 here. So I've crocheted all the way out, back out to the edge again. Now for row 17, we're going to turn our work, and just like all the other odd rows since row 13, we're just going to double crochet into each stitch around. So start with a chain 3 or the chainless method here, and then 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So for the small blanket, you should have 234 stitches at the end of row 17. And for the large blanket, you should have 314 stitches at the end of rounds 16 and 17. Since our stitch number isn't changing here, we're just keeping it even for this round. Keep the blanket nice and flat. Crochet 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around, back out to that straight edge. Okay, I finished my last 69 stitches of row 17, or 109 for the large. Now we're going to turn our work and start on row 18. Just like all the other rows, chain 3 or use this chainless method here, and double crochet into each of the next 68 stitches for the small, or 108 stitches for the large. Then we'll start our increases here for row 18. Okay, I've got my first 69 stitches of row 18 here. And we're going to start our increases lining up with those increases from row 16. We're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then double crochet into the next 10 stitches. Okay, it's quite a long sequence to repeat here now. We're going to do that 3 more times. So 2 double crochets into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 10. Okay, that was our second time through. Let's repeat it a third time. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 10. Ooh, color change. I just love mandala yarn. That's so cute. Okay, 1 more time through, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then double crochet into the next 10. Okay, so now we're at the flat part at the top of our arch here, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into the next 18 stitches. Okay, there's 18. Now we're kind of to this other side of our arch here. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And then double crochet into the next 10 stitches. Okay, there's 10. So here's our little sequence. We're going to repeat that 2 more times. 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next 10. Okay, and one more time through, 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next 10 stitches. Okay, now we'll work our last increase of row 18. It's going to line up with that last increase from row 16. 2 double crochet into this next stitch. Okay, so that's the domed part of row 18. Got to this fun kind of pinkish color. Now to finish row 18, we will work 69 more double crochet stitches, or 109 for the large, till we get back out to this flat edge. 1 double crochet into each stitch. Coming to the end of row 18, last few stitches here. And then we're going to turn our work and start on row 19. Row 19, just like the last few odd rows, is just going to be double crochet all the way around. 1 stitch in each stitch, no increasing. So we'll start with a chain 3 or this chainless method. And work 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. So at the end of row 19, you should have 242 stitches for the small, or 322 stitches for the large. So keep crocheting all the way around. Okay, I finished row 19 where we just crocheted all the way around. Getting pretty big here. I'm getting down to the last bit of mandala here. So now we're going to start row 20. So row 20 starts just like all the other rows. We are going to start with our chain 3 or chainless starting method here. And then double crochet into each of the next 68 stitches for the small, or 108 stitches for the large. Okay, I've done my first 69 stitches of row 20. And now we're going to start our increases. So we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next 11 stitches. 2 double crochet into the next, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. Okay, and that is 11. Now we're going to repeat that sequence 3 more times. So 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Then 1 double crochet into each of the next 11. Okay, and that is 11. Now 2 more times through that sequence. 2 double crochets into the next stitch. 1 double crochet into each of the next 11. And there's 11. Now, 1 more time, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 11. Okay, and there's 11. Now we are to the kind of flat middle section of the blanket here, and we are going to double crochet into the next 19 stitches. Okay, and that's 19. And now we're going to make the other side of the blanket match. So we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 11. So here's 2 double crochet into that stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 11. Okay, there's 11. Now we're going to repeat that sequence 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 11, okay, that's 11. Now we're going to do it one more time, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 11. Okay, and then we will work our last increase for this row, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, Okay, and now we are ready to finish the row by working 1 double crochet stitch into the next 69 stitches for the small or 109 stitches for the large. And that'll be it for row 20. Marking my last few stitches of row 20. And then we're going to turn our work and start row 21. Okay. So row 21, just like the last few odd rows, is all double crochet. So we're going to start with the chain 3 or the chainless starting method here. And work 1 double crochet stitch into each stitch around, all the way around for row 20. So 21. So at the end of row 21, the small blanket will have 250 stitches and the large blanket will have 330 stitches. Crochet all the way around, 1 stitch per stitch. Okay, I'm coming to my last few stitches of row 21 here. And getting ready to turn and start row 22. And row 22 may be the last row of the small size blanket. If you're making a small and you're using a cake of mandala, kind of depends on how much yarn you have left. Each cake's a little different. So we're going to turn our work and start row 22. We're either going to chain 3 or use the chainless starting method. And we're going to crochet into the next 68 stitches, double crochet 1 stitch per stitch, into the next 68 for the small or 108 for the large. Okay, I have my first 69 stitches of row 22 here, or you'll have 109 counting that starting chain for the large. Now we're going to start working our increases around the round end of the blanket here. So we'll work 2 double crochet into the next stitch and then 1 double crochet into the next 12 stitches. So 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 12. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that sequence 3 more times. Work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 12. Okay, now let's work that sequence again. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next 12, and one more time through, we'll work 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 12. Okay, so we're done with kind of the the first side of the curve here, the increases. Now we're to the flat part right in the middle of the rainbow, and we are going to double crochet into the next 20 stitches. Okay, now we're going to start our decreasing for kind of this side of the blanket here. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 12. Okay, so there's that sequence. We're going to repeat that 2 more times. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into each of the next 12. Okay, let's do that one more time. 2 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next 12. Okay, and we're going to work our last increase of row 22. You can see it kind of lines up with the last increase from row 20 here. 2 double crochet into that next stitch. Okay, and to finish row 22, we're going to work 1 double crochet into the next 69 stitches back out to this flat edge, or 109 if you are making the large size. I'm coming to my last few stitches of row 22, and once you finish this, if you don't have enough yarn to go around again, your blanket is done. So if you only have a little bit of yarn left in your cake, you can fasten off and weave in that end. If you still have yarn, I still have this much yarn, it might be enough to go around for row 23. Which is why I wrote row 23 as optional in the written pattern, just because some of us won't have enough yarn depending on that cake size, but I'm going to go for it. So row 23 is optional. Let's zoom out a little bit and see what we have. You can leave your blanket just like this. This is a pretty good size, I think, for just a fun little baby kids play blanket. But you can keep going, and if you want to keep going and make it really wide, you can add on another cake of yarn, which is what I'm going to do to show you the rest of the rows for the large blanket. But for row 23, just like those previous odd rows, the last few odd rows, it's just going to be double crochet all the way around. 1 stitch in each stitch. So we're going to start with that chain 3 or chainless starting method and work 1 double crochet into each stitch around. So if you're doing row 23, at the end of the row, the small blanket should have 258 stitches, and the large blanket will have 338 stitches. So we'll see how far around I get with this little bit of yarn I have left. Hopefully I can make it all the way around. 1 stitch in each stitch. Okay, so I've just finished my row 23 here. Made it all the way around. Let's zoom out a little bit here. And I had enough yarn to finish my row 23. If you don't, that's okay. You can, if you tried to make it all the way around, you couldn't get all the way around for row 23. You can just cut your yarn after row 22. Just pull it back and cut your yarn. But I was able to finish row 23 here. It's a cute little blanket. I love that bright orange on the end. And I still have a little bit of yarn left, just a little bit of yarn. I'm surprised. But that's it for the small size blanket. You can fasten off, cut this yarn, and weave in the end. I'm not going to fasten mine off just yet because I'm going to keep going to show you the rest of the rows for the large blanket. So the large size